What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Sunday evening to everybody. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know, obviously, definitely a sour taste. I know, for me, waking up this morning, there was definitely a sour taste in my mouth from the game Saturday evening. But hey, it's luckily enough in Raleigh. It was a beautiful day, so I hope everybody, got out to and enjoyed this beautiful weather here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So if you all haven't been here already, basically what we're going to be doing today is just basically reviewing the Mississippi State game, mostly talking about Furman a little bit, but I think obviously most of us are really just kind of wrapping our heads around the Mississippi State game that just happened. So and make sure to if you're listening in with us, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, make sure to comment. Let us know what y'all think, what y'all's thoughts are as we kind of go through the game a little bit, and make sure to even just give a shout out in terms of so we can know who's listening in, who's checking in with us. We would greatly appreciate that. So obviously, kind of diving into the game, obviously 24-10, 7 of those points were kind of, you can call in garbage time, almost of a sort. Definitely disappointing game overall. I feel like, I know for me personally, definitely would have never expected us to look that bad offensively. Definitely just, it's tough to even wrap my head around. So, Michael, what's your kind of initial thoughts? I don't even know initially kind of how to originally describe exactly what I
I know.
saw last night.
Yeah, it was tough to watch on offense. I mean, defense, we played well enough on defense to win the game.
Easily.
Held their offense to 17 points. Obviously, 7 more coming on that kickoff return. That was tough. But offense, we couldn't. It seemed like we'd get one play, kind of a chunk play, and then the drive would stall out for a little bit, or especially on the first couple drives, we got inside the 20 on 2 straight drives and only came away with 3 points off of that. So that's tough.
Yeah. Well, and you definitely, you kind of mentioned defense, and I definitely made it clear tweeting out that even though by no means was our defense perfect, they did their job. You cannot blame one single bit of the loss on our defense. Now, the one thing which was kind of concerning to me was, that the fact that we weren't able to force any turnovers whatsoever. Because looking back at the game against Louisiana Tech that Mississippi State played, Mississippi State had 6 turnovers, 5 fumbles, and an interception, and we didn't force any last night. So, because definitely when you're playing in an environment like Mississippi State where it is loud and there's definitely a home field advantage, you got to take the crowd out of it. And how do you do that? You need big plays, you need chunk plays, you need turnovers, you need something that quiets the crowd down. And defensively, we weren't able to make that happen. And then definitely, obviously, I think the highlight from the offensive side was really the first quarter. Just because, again, we talk about ways to take the fans out of the game, and there was many chances that we could have put some daggers in. Specifically, I know everybody wants to talk about the Tim Tebow halfback pass to Penix, and in the moment, and this might be kind of a little bit biased because for those who don't know, I was actually at the ECU South Carolina game in the afternoon, and so I kind of look at it as kind of like because for the ECU game, the first play of the game, ECU ran a halfback pass for 75 yards for a touchdown, and I explained that as basically that's a high risk, high reward play.
Yeah.
So this Ricky Person play, I look at it as high risk, high reward. But now, do I really think that it wasn't necessary? I definitely think that Beck did not call his best game by any stretch of the measure. It was definitely there was no reason to be that greedy and be that cute, in that situation, just because that would have been a huge dagger.
Especially when we didn't even just try to run the ball on that drive when we got inside the 10. We threw the screen. Just a quick screen to Thayer Thomas. He got stopped, which the screen had been working on the drive. He ran it at least twice, maybe 3 times, and we get 7 or 8 yards every play. But
Yeah.
when you're on the goal line, like a screen, the defender doesn't have to get worried about getting beat deep, so they can play up on the ball, and that's exactly what happened. And
Yep.
Thayer got stopped at the line of scrimmage, and then the next play was that halfback pass, and we didn't
Yep.
even try to just hand it off to Bam and let him get in the end zone, that
Yeah.
was a little frustrating to me.
Yeah. It was definitely. It was definitely seemed to be more of a conservative approach on offense, which was kind of
Mhm.
frustrating because I mean it was a ton of curl routes, a ton of screens, deep and again I don't necessarily put it all on that because obviously, unfortunately, Leary wasn't
No.
really having his best game. There was
Yeah,
no
he
doubt he
didn't have.
wasn't having his best game. Just could not hit the ball deep, and then even like Devin Carter, he had three big drops
Yeah, we had a
yesterday,
couple drops too, which were tough.
um, yeah, which were kind of tough to swallow. So, and I see your comment in game 14 Alpha about that there was no reward. Well, really, the reward I see, which is more than just from a normal touchdown, is it would have been a huge hype play. It would have really gotten the NC offense jazzed up, excited, to pull off a play like that, and see, Ricky Person throw a touchdown to a guy like Trent Penix. That would have been a play that would have cause the entire offense to not only just be excited they score a touchdown, but like let's go, like we pulled that off, and so but I mean, do I think it was the right call? No, but I mean, it's hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Who who
If
who would have thunk that when Leary motioned out and it was basically a wildcat formation that the Mississippi State defense did not bite whatsoever. They held on to their
yeah,
man. So I mean, especially with a guy like Ricky, like if Bam, who's not really more of the power guy, but Ricky, who is more the power guy, steps up. I mean, I definitely think that again, it just hindsight's 2020, and I'll just leave it at that. So,
yeah. I mean, he
um,
completes that pass, and it's a genius play because they weren't looking for a halfback pass, like
correct.
like you said. But
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
there's an interception. So,
Yeah,
uh,
right, right. And again, even like coming out originally in the second half, I tweeted out that again, if we score a touchdown at the beginning of second half, I think that we're right back in this in terms
yeah,
of being
yeah,
50-50 a toss up. But I mean, for a guy like Bam, who I mean, overall usually plays a pretty disciplined game, to fumble the ball like that, especially in a key
that
time
was
like
tough.
that, was definitely not like him. So that I think that's kind of the biggest frustration overall for this game is it was not us. It was not what this team is, not even close. It wasn't. I mean, just we weren't playing great. We weren't playing with energy. I mean, like I tweeted out that like literally like after we fumbled the ball and Mississippi State went down scored, it just seemed like for the rest of the game the team looked just defeated. Like it
Yeah,
was very, and that's honestly the most nervous wracking thing for me. Not necessarily frustration, but nerve wracking is that I feel like that the biggest thing I was hoping for, especially with experience, is that we would have a lot of leadership. And I didn't feel like I saw a lot last night. I didn't see, guys, playing with emotion, trying to get our guys back. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts. Macon, I saw you just jumped in with us, man.
Yeah,
So I
guys.
want to hear your thoughts.
Well, initially I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah,
watching the game, but that was a tough one. I don't. The frustrating part to me was we were the better team on both sides of the ball. Like you could, I mean, you look at the way Mississippi State played, and I mean, now, to their credit, their defense I thought was pretty good, and I don't know if it was more. I think it's a little bit of both. I thought we sucked on offense, and then I
yeah,
think they also were pretty good. And there were so many missed opportunities.
yeah,
That's what frustrated me.
yeah.
And I heard your comment about Bam about his fumble. Like he never does that. When
No,
was the last time Chris Dunn missed a field goal?
right.
Um,
yeah,
we were driving methodically, and I think like going 2 or 3 drives down the field and not scoring just
Yeah,
yeah,
crushed the team mentally on offense.
tough.
Defense performed well. I mean, honestly, defense, the score was 24-10, but the defense held them to 17 points basically.
Yep.
So defense did what they needed to do.
yeah,
Even without Peyton Wilson, which is I'm gonna be very interested to see what that injury is. But
yeah.
I'm honestly very disappointed. I thought the maturity was not showing up like you mentioned. I thought we were better than that. I just did.
Yeah.
Maybe that's me being foolish in a little bit, but I thought we were better than that. And even the Mississippi State people thought State's going to win. I saw one of their beat writers had us beating them by 14 points. So it's not like it's just State fans being overreacting. Everybody thought we were going to win that game. So I don't get it. To me, it's coaching in a lot of ways, but they're not the ones dropping the passes. They're not the ones fumbling the ball. So is that them? I don't know.
Go ahead. Well, I mean, in Big Wolf 77, you mentioned about how, Mississippi State was more prepared. I mean, they were more ready to go that game. Now, a lot of it I really do put on because again, that first quarter, offensively and defensively, we were controlling that game. I really do think that a lot of it isn't really necessarily the prepared side. Really, I think it's more of just at the end of the day we couldn't take advantage of opportunities when they were given to us. That first quarter. I mean, if we could have scored one touchdown to either tie or take the 3-point lead in that first quarter, I think we were looking at a much better, different ball game. I really do.
It could have easily been 14-7 at the end of the first quarter.
It could have, yeah, and I think we're having a different conversation right now. So, but and you kind of mentioned too, making about Peyton, and I mean, definitely, my heart, definitely our prayers and hearts are definitely with him, and hope that, it's nothing too serious. But I mean, unfortunately for Peyton, man, I mean, it's just. It's kind of like last year that, unfortunately, as much as it kills me to say this, it's not like it's a new thing, unfortunately, for Peyton to be injured. It's a frustrating thing, but unfortunately, it just seems to be that. I mean, again, the poor guy just can't stay healthy. I mean, I know that he's had a lot of, he's had to, reconstruct his shoulder, and that seems to have, definitely been, and the in-game mentioned that how he's an arm cast and it was ice on it, so. But I mean, again, luckily enough, we still have two stud linebackers in Isaiah Moore and Drake Thomas, and we still have leadership, we still have depth, and so again, we'll see what happens. I guess it's tomorrow that Doran will do his weekly press conference, and so I'm sure I'm sure we'll find out more then.
Yeah, I was going to add this too. I'm looking here at the box score. We virtually the same on offense, but we had, I think it was 19 more yards offense. So you could technically say we were better on offense than they were as far as putting up the offensive yards. I'm looking at here. We were 30 and passing. We were 30 for 51 with 2 interceptions and 33 for 49 for Mississippi State. So they were a little bit more efficient. They were more efficient passing the ball and. But see, here's the thing that's nuts here. You would think like a game like that, State was expected to rush the ball well, I thought, and the rushing yards for NC State were 32 rushing yards, and Mississippi State was 22 rushing yards. So neither team was able to move the ball on the ground. It was just a throwing game. And to me, I did think that if we were going to win the game, we would need to run the ball because it means you're controlling the line of scrimmage. But since neither team was, you just had to convert on passing plays, and we just didn't. And that's the end. That's the bottom line. We just didn't. And I don't get it. I don't get it. And a lot of those yards up there, there's a lot of penalties that we did not normally see the team have either. So, and again, that comes to maturity. And I looking at a team that's got, a bunch of guys who played last year. Almost all of them played last year. And you can't have that. Now, you never been in an environment like Mississippi State with the Cowbells, but you have to be prepared. And that to me is on some is on the coaches, because I don't get why we won't run to the right. I get why we run to the left. I get why we do that, because you've got Akeem Aquan and you got McMahon on the left side. Why won't we run to the right? Like, is it just like is it we can't run the right? Like they just stink on the right side, or is it we won't run to the right? And I don't know the answer to that question. That's what boggles my mind a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also too, the fact that, and somebody mentioned it, that we actually only had one sack, and that was by Peyton Wilson the entire game. And for, again, the fact that we are so stud heavy in the front seven, between linebackers and defensive line, that's kind of one thing that really, I'm kind of struggling with, because even USF, I don't think we had maybe 1 or 2 sacks. We didn't have too many sacks. Let's put it that way. And so that's my biggest worry, honestly, is the pressure. And again, I know that we did a lot last night of rushing 3 and dropping 8, but
yeah, that's what it looked like. I mean,
but
I think it worked for the most part. I mean, like we said, defense held their offense to only 17 points. I mean, I don't think that was a bad game plan to rush 3 and drop 8. Yeah,
but it's just again, we're talking about big plays, and again, in a game where you're playing in an environment as tough as Mississippi State, you need plays that take that take the crowd out of it, and sacks are one of those plays. Incomplete passes, I don't think that really changes anything, but a big sack can definitely be make an impact. Again, forcing fumbles. We got to get in that quarterback's head. We got to put him on the mat. We got to put him on the field. We got to lay him on his back. I mean, unfortunately, when in a game where the quarterback is so relied on, like Mississippi State's quarterback, you got to get in his head, even if you're not necessarily taking him for a sack. At least hit him as he's throwing the ball, and get in his head a little bit. Let him know we're coming. And especially too, like I saw during the game that Corey Durden and Daniel Joseph were kind of getting into it late in the game, and it just my biggest worry is that again that this team that we foresaw a lot of leadership is just not there. And that would be honestly my biggest concern. Is it's not necessarily the play on the field; it's the leadership. Because again, I mean, leadership leads to maturity. Maturity leads to a team that fights through and wins football games. And I mean, for us to only be down, what was it, 24-3, which I mean, it's three scores. It's not, especially like halfway through the third quarter. That's plenty of time to still come back and win the game. But again, I mean, we look like we were down 49-3. We might as well have. I mean, that's how it literally looked like. So, that's my biggest frustration, honestly. But it's just, and kind of one thing which I wanted to ask you, Macon and Michael about, and for those tuning in as well, is a lot of people were discussing that maybe going with Leary is not. Maybe he's not our guy. Maybe you should give Ben Finley, a chance. And I wanted to kind of hear what y'all's thoughts are on that.
No, I don't think that at all. That's not why we lost.
Yeah.
I mean, like the balls are hitting Devin Carter in the hands. He's just not catching them. That's Donovan Knight fumbled the ball. It never happens. Chris Dunn missed a field goal. That never happens. So Devin Leary's not the reason why. Now he had a couple
iffy throws, but
yeah, I mean, there's some quarterbacks who do, and you guys got to remember last season, the first 3 games, everybody was like, "Holy cow, this is like one of the best QB performances we've seen recently." So it's like he had a game where he put up 330 some passing yards, and it was considered a bad night. That's nothing.
Right.
Like guys, now he made good decisions too. I mean, except that one play where it was like the end of the third where he just threw a prayer up and it ended up being a first down catch by the one catch I remember Devin Carter getting. I was like, that was so lucky because it was like a 15-yard little duck. And Devin Leary's a guy. He is a guy. Ben Finley's not. Now, could you have put him in for like a spark? I don't think so, because I mean that's just totally sucking the wind out of your sails. Like, okay, you're not the guy right now. That's just like, I don't think that's. I think they just missed opportunities, and that's all it was. There's some balls. There's a couple balls Messi should have caught, and he didn't. Mainly, it was Devin Carter that I can think of, but
yeah, it was just like there a lot of there wasn't one overall point I feel like that lost the game. It was a little bit of not the greatest play calling, especially in the red zone. A couple drops, the fumble, and then when you combine all that into one game, it's gonna be bad.
I've already seen people talking on Facebook, like on not Facebook, some of these other sites, Twitter, but like, fire Doran, the typical "we lose, everybody needs to go" kind of statement. And again, Doran has always been a guy who has never won the games that he's like the big games, other than the Louisville game, that one time, or maybe a Carolina game here and there. But
which is frustrating.
It is frustrating, and that's the biggest. And he deserves the criticism. But
yeah.
I mean,
I really,
I don't know how to excuse that. He just kind of needs, like, he owns it, like he does, and I'm glad he owns it.
Yep.
But then I think, well, then fix it, then do better. I get you're not the one at the end of the day executing the plays. The players are. You can't help the Devin Carter. Dave Dorn's. It's not Dave Dorn's fault that Devin Carter didn't catch like 3 of those major opportunities, or the pass to Anthony Smith. There's a pass there late in the third to Anthony Smith. He just didn't catch it, and Devin Leary led him, and he just didn't get there. Now maybe Devin Leary put too much on it. I don't think he did. I think he was in like 5 yards less than that from where he was. So,
yeah, let's put it this way: Anthony could have caught it, but Leary didn't make it easy on him. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't necessarily like, again, you look at USF, look at that Ricky Person wheel route. He threw it right here, right in the breadbasket, beautifully. And then the pass to Devin Carter against USF, he threw it right here, right in the breadbasket.
Yeah.
And this game, Leary didn't do that. It was they were going to be some tough catches, and so but I mean, I hear you for sure, and because my biggest thing that I really want to say is, at the end of the day, as frustrating as this game is, it's game 2. We got 10 guaranteed games left, and
it's a road loss in the SEC.
Yeah, which blows. There's no doubt that, I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. It was embarrassing. It blows. But at the end of the day, everything that we've said in terms of the talent and the experience of this team is still 100% true. There is no doubt that this team still has the talent to compete and win every single game on the schedule. There's no doubt about it. Now, I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. But so what I'm saying is at the end of the day, hopefully, and how I look at it, hopefully with this team, hopefully this could be that game that sparks the team, and it's kind of that wake up call, kind of a kick in the gonads, like, listen, we got embarrassed, but it's time to turn this thing around. Like, this is ridiculous. Mecca and Daniel Joseph, they came back not to go 7-5 or 8-4. They came to go to go 9-3, 10-10 to compete for ACC title. Like, that's it. That's what they came for. So that's why I really look towards those guys to really step up. Go ahead.
And the door to the Atlantic Division is still open. We haven't played a conference game yet.
Yeah. Go ahead, Macon.
See, the thing to me, though, is we're going to beat Furman next week. We should beat Furman, I will say. High likelihood.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you learn from beating Furman? Pretty much nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
So that means we're going to have 2 weeks. We're going to be like, okay, yeah, great, you beat Furman.
Yeah.
You're supposed to crush them, and if you beat them, you beat them. Great. Yeah. I don't know if I have no confidence, but now I'm back to, like, nervous about playing. Like, this was the year I thought we'd beat Clemson. This was the year, and now I'm nervous about it. I know they would beat us. They're going to be favored in that game anyways. But having watched that, like, okay, so we beat South Florida and we looked amazing beating South Florida. But South Florida stinks.
Yeah,
we play a not so great Mississippi State team, like bottom of the SEC kind of team, and we lose. Then we're going to play Furman, and we're probably going to beat them. So what you're telling me is we're going to have 2 wins of teams against teams that stink, and 1 loss against a team that's halfway decent, and then we got to go play a team who is favored to win the ACC, and we think, oh, well, we're going to go out there and we're going to just give them all we got. To me,
it's tough.
It makes me nervous. Like, it's like maybe we're not what we thought we were. Like, we're always running to the left. The receivers in critical moments weren't making the catches. Granted, it was one night, but we have seen through 2 games we want to run left. So that's at least a known. And maybe they're holding back. Maybe on the other side, Tim McKay and Bryson Spees and whoever else are just going to be, they're just ready to unload on them. But it makes me nervous as a State fan. Like, we're going to say, oh, we're 2-1, but it's a 2 you won. You beat South Florida and Furman, and you lost Mississippi State. So who are you, basically? That's what I'm going to be worried about. We may lose to Clemson, and we may still not really know who we are.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you on that, Macon. I 100% agree because there's no doubt at the end of the day that I'm as nervous as any State fan. But I mean, I know enough about this team in terms of what it looks like on depth chart to know that this team is still different. That this team can still do special things, and so I have to have hope and belief in. And at the end of the day, that what we saw beforehand is what's going to happen. USF, you saw a defense that was gritty. You saw a defense that was deep in the secondary. You saw an offense that seemed to be multidimensional. And so again, I mean, anybody who's calling for Doran's head right now, I feel like is a little bit premature. Again, I completely understand. He lost another big game. It's definitely been a continuing trend, but at the end of the day, like look at and again, I'm not saying this is going to be us, but I've seen it firsthand. Like looking at, I hate to bring them up, but UNC back in I think it was 2014 or 20 it was 2015 where the UNC lost to South Carolina in the opening game, and they ended up going 11-1. And so and again, not saying that's going to be us, but I'm saying that was a team that had two big leaders, one who was their star linebacker, one who was their quarterback, and they rallied behind and they turned their season around into being
Mm-hmm.
coastal division champions and being that close to winning an ACC championship against Clemson. And
Yeah.
again, for the third time, I'm not saying that's going to be us, but I'm saying that this team has the experience and should have the leaders to rally up, turn this thing around, go into Furman, give them a big fat goose egg, and get ready for Clemson. And again, we'll see. So again, it's just I feel like it's just way too early to just call this season a dud and move on.
So let me ask this question then, because I'm not a person that's like fire Doran now. That's not me. But having said that, this is now year 9, and he's only won one, maybe 2 or 3, if you want to consider some of the UNC wins, big wins.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you think that is like, okay, now we've got to really talk? Maybe we do need to go so direct. Like the fans who are like us, who are not, and the give Dorn's. It's not Dorn's not the main problem here. At what point is it going to be the problem? Is my question. What would it take to get to that point? Like, is it going to be a whole nother season where we lose more to Wake Forest and Boston College, or is it going to be never beating Clemson? Is it going to be what's it going to be? I'm curious because I think there's one side of the fan base that's like, what more do you guys need to see? Like he's not winning the big games, and there's another side of the fan base that's like, look at the foundation he has built, and he's building there. It's getting there. Like, what do you think it's going to take for the fans who are like on the optimistic side to be like, okay, look, we've given you enough time. What do you think it would take to get to that point in a negative way? I'm just curious because we are always potentially going to be just saying, it's he's got us the talent. We're so much better than we used to be, but we're still not winning the big game. I'm just curious.
Michael, I'll let you answer first.
I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean,
it is.
He has set that precedent of that. He'll win the games he's supposed to win, and then the signature wins, big wins, he hasn't gotten yet. So, the floor with Doran, I think he's pretty much set that at, I don't know, 7-5.
Yeah.
And
so 7-5, you think if we go 7-5 this season, you think, okay, I'm good to move on from Doran?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's like just good enough that it won't get him on the hot seat.
Yeah.
So you think,
but he also has set the ceiling at 8-4, 9-3.
So bowl game essentially. You think he's safe?
At least for this season.
For this team, okay, all right. I'm just getting that. Then you get that pin. I'm fair. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just want to make sure I understand. What about you, Leighton?
Again, I love Doran. I mean, I really do, and I truly don't think that we'll get to that level. I truly do believe. Now, again, I mean, I was shocked yesterday by any means, but I any thought, any line I'm thinking in my head, I'm just like, there's just no way we get to that level. There's just no way. I mean, that we get to that level where I truly think that Doran's on the hot seat. But I mean, I think honestly, the big moment for me where I start to get worried is if we lose a game that we're supposed to win. Then I start to get worried, just because
Like
that's
this
very
last
annoying.
one. Like this last one.
Well, last one was. I mean, again, I mean the line was between Mississippi State to us favorites. I mean,
Okay, it was basically a pick 'em.
it was
I can give you that. That's
it was
fair.
it was a 50
That's
50.
fair.
You
That's
know,
fair.
so but like
I just say
let's
that
put it this way.
because everybody was thinking. If you asked the people who do it for a living, they were thinking State was going to win. That's the only reason why I said that.
Well, let's just put it this way. At the end of the day, us State fans, we're not the ones that decide whether Doran keeps his job or loses his job. At the end of the day, that is Boo Corrigan's job. So, but let's put it this way: the point that I become worried is if we end the season 7-5. If we go 7-5, I'm worried. I'm worried because that means that we lost a game that we are supposed to win.
Yeah.
That means more likely we didn't beat UNC, we didn't beat Clemson, we didn't beat Miami, and then we lost to Mississippi State, and then that means we would lose another game, and that's when I become worried. So in the Pack for Life, you're mentioning Boston College at Wake. Yeah, I mean, again, so again, I don't think at the end of the day he's not going to get fired, this season. He's not. But I worry because next season, again, he's going to lose a lot of guys, and I feel like again, this is. I mean, I've heard it from all over, and from former players, from current staff, on all that, saying this is going to be a special season, and so for me, if it's not at least 8-4, I'm getting worried. Now, am I happy? No. Only way I'm going to be happy is if we go 9-3, because again, everything that we said up until this point is still 100% true. It's still 100% true. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, we just
I think it's fair. I
I
think you said so. You're saying like if we were to go 7-5 this season for Leighton, you're good to move on. Essentially,
I'm not calling for his head. I'm just worried.
Okay, so you're worried. Okay, so you're starting to get
Yeah.
It's your version of the hot seat, essentially. Like
correct. Well, because then I'm not going to sit here and say I'm calling for Doran's head. I'm not going to say that because at the end of the day,
quote it.
Leighton
said it.
No, that's what I heard.
No, I mean just because at the end of the day, I feel like he's done a great job as a program, and I don't see that happening. I truly do feel like that. I let's put it this way. I have a lot of belief in Doran still, and the staff that they'll turn the season around and get it back where we expect it to be. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah.
And granted, it's one loss.
It's one
and
loss.
We're already like, oh well, the guy's falling.
That's what we do.
We just don't know. It's so early in the season. That's the thing. We just don't know, and we're not going to know next week either because it's Furman. Unless we lose, unless it's a close game and we just really suck, then we'll know. But
and even if we lose to Clemson, I mean, we won't really know either because Clemson's Clemson. Until you get into those BC, Wake, Florida State.
Well, but see, like what happens if to me, like Doran was so close to beating them the one year, and it was just because a kicker couldn't get it done. So in my mind, Doran was right there with them. I mean, to me, that's what I think. He was right there to beat them, and it just didn't happen. And to me, if we beat again, my frustration is next week I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to be like, well, who cares? Like, unless we're going to win and we're supposed to crush Furman. So I gain nothing by this. So that's why this game was so important to me, and we just blew it. That's what frustrates me.
But Pack for Life mentioned about Boston College and Wake. So Boston College and Wake, same kind of thing with them. Same kind of story that we still think they don't truly know how good Boston College and Wake is yet because they haven't really played anybody yet. Miami, they got crushed by Alabama, but everybody's going to get crushed by Alabama this year. And then, I mean, they pulled out, win against App State, who is a great team. I mean, App State is definitely no pushover this season. So I mean, I can't really comment anything yet in terms of necessarily that we, in terms of updating our projection on Boston College Wake, just because we don't really know with Boston College Wake what we have yet. So that's kind of what I want to say about that. But
I'll just do Tim Beck is too good of an OC to be like calling those kind of plays. And
Yeah,
to
we're paying
me,
them too
that's
much
not.
money too. We're
And
paying a
I
lot of
don't
money.
think those play calls are on Doran. I will say that last night too. I think they're, he's got an offensive coordinator who all last season and the first game, everybody's been like, Tim Beck is great. This is like the first game we've seen Tim Beck be like, why are we running? Why are we just like, I remember the first two drives, like, why are we just throwing to the left? Why are we just running to the left? Again, it's not his fault that they dropped the passes. It's not Doran's fault they dropped the passes. It's not his fault that Bam fumbled the football or Chris Dunn missed a kick. It's players got to make plays, and I know that's Doran's thing. He says that. They do.
Yep.
But I don't know if there was some thinking like we're just going to keep a little bit of a lid on it for Clemson, like we're going to really open. I don't know. And for me, I kind of tend to go with what Layton's saying. If we go 8-4, I'm like, okay, you're safe because this team's too talented, and the coaching staff. I mean, I think the coaching staff's best we've ever had. As far as in the last,
that's still true.
In the last 20 years, maybe in the last 20 years. I find it hard to say if he goes 7-5. I think 7-5. It's like you better put up an 8-4, 9-3 season next season and get a big win or two, or it's going to be you're done. And I think year 10, it's going to ultimately be like this is it. Like if you're not producing by year 10, like you've had a decade. And but you mentioned Boston College, Wake Forest, Miami. I think preseason I had us losing to Clemson. Wake Forest, and I think I had them losing to Miami. I think is what I had. But I only say that because we always lose at Winston-Salem, and having watched Miami, Appalachian State's obviously we all know how underrated Appalachian State is. They gave Miami all they wanted, and they got crushed by Alabama. So, I don't think this is if Doran goes 7-5, I'm going to start to be like, okay, you've had as talented a team as you've ever had, and it's an average season. At that point, I'd be like, I really hate that because I think Hunter, you made that point where he said it's the best team we've had, best depth we've had in a long, long time. And the worry is, well, if Doran is not the guy and you let him go, again, who is going to be the next guy? Like, I mean, there's not a handful of coaches that are on the lower levels that I can think of this season that are just clear cut.
You need to go get him.
They are the next guy. So, it's hard to say that. I think, we're just all really upset and disappointed that we lost this game. It's frustrating because next week we're not going to really learn anything unless we just lose and we really learn something. But that's what's frustrating me. We're gonna have basically 2 weeks of being like this feeling.
Well, and Hunter, and one thing too, Hunter, you mentioned there about how our schedule is sneaky rough. At the end of the day, again, with this team and with the expectations of this team, you want a tough schedule. You don't want an easy schedule and beating, all these fruit, cupcakes. You want to go and beat some great teams because truly this team should win those games against these big teams. And there's a lot of opportunities if you're for Doran to make those statement wins. There are a lot of opportunities. And so that's why for me, honestly, I think the measurement for me again, also too, in terms of whether I am feeling good or not, is did we take a step forward this season as a program? And as of yet, we have not taken a step forward. But I mean, it's 2 games. You can't paint a picture yet through 2 games. But I mean, again, we need to feel like that the program is better now than it was last season. And because again, I mean, I truly think that. Again, I just truly have a lot of faith in this team, and also too guys like Corey Durden, even who we brought in. I see him as really hopefully being a big vocal leader, especially today, probably during meetings and starting into practice this week of because we didn't see him. He didn't play against USF, but he did play against yesterday and seemed very dominant, but obviously he wasn't able to get any sacks. We'll see. Hopefully the biggest thing I want for Furman is to see energy, to see guys playing together, playing as a unit. And, just to. But again, it's kind of frustrating because I agree with you, Macon. It still doesn't necessarily help us. Like, if we crush them 55-0 or even 100-0, it's like, okay, well, we're still not learning anything, but
That's what we
I mean, at
should
least we're
do.
heading in the right direction. It's what we should do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess kind of the kind of summary so far for those who are tuning in that weren't here before is that at the end of the day, we're going to leave Leary in. He's going to be the guy for us this season, barring injury, which God forbid, knocking on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen. I think the biggest thing, honestly, for me, the biggest thing I want to see against Furman, honestly, now I'm really thinking about it, defensive line. I'm ready for them to make some plays, man. I'm ready for some sacks. I'm ready for Corey Durden, for Daniel Joseph, for Savion Jackson.
Yeah.
To
This
to start.
3-3-5 is. Sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize
No,
for
no, no.
interrupting you.
No,
I
no,
said the
you're good.
3-3-5 is not really impressing me right now. So
No. It's like,
I
all right,
mean,
let's start to lay the hammer here.
yeah.
So
Linebackers are great, and you're putting Imps in the linebackers, so that's good. But defensive
Yep.
line's not getting any pressure just in 2 games, really. I mean, they
Yeah.
kind of did last game. Like I mean, I can think of the Daniel Joseph sack, and I could think of a lot of those guys losing. But again, it was a bad South Florida team. So I don't. It's not really excite me so far.
No, exactly. So it's I mean, there's no doubt with this team that again that 8-9 wins is still within the cards. It is still within the cards, and there's a long season, and hey, what a beautiful thing, and what a beautiful storybook it would be if we turn the season around again. I mean, I'm not by any means that we're going to beat Clemson, but I'm saying, hey, what if we do? I mean, what if because it's so NC State like. I mean, think about it. We're all State fans. How NC State would it be for us to lose to Mississippi State, but then 2 weeks later beat Clemson? I mean,
Yeah.
that's NC State for you. I'm just saying.
That's
I
fair,
mean,
but
we've seen it, but
yeah, to me. But then again, let me ask you this question: let's say we beat Clemson.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, at this point, say we beat Furman, we beat Clemson. What have we learned about this team? That they are a typical NC State team that just doesn't, I don't know, typical NC State team, but it's just they're up and they're down. I don't, I don't know. We'll wait till we'll have to wait to see what we get there. But go ahead.
Well, and I'm not saying by any means that's like they beat Clemson and then the rest of the season is just we win what we're supposed to win and lose what we're supposed to lose. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that through 4 games, it's like at the end of the day we're used to that, but hopefully from what we see after Clemson, that it's not just a fluke. It's not just that we pulled off an upset, but then the rest of the season, we lose to like Wake Forest and Boston College. I'm just saying that it's one of those things that hopefully with this comes a little bit of, okay, it's time to wake up. Because if we beat Mississippi State, you're not really getting that, because you're feeling yourself. You're like, oh, I just pulled off a win. We're good. We're 2-0, going to be 3-0 heading into Clemson, maybe feeling ourselves. But now it's kind of like, hey, listen, guys, if we don't turn this thing around, this is going to be a rough season for us. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Michael.
The conference, I mean, and it's better that it's a out of conference game. I mean, that we're still 0-0 in the ACC. That door's still cracked open there for the Atlantic Division. I mean, obviously FSU does not look good. Louisville does not look great.
No.
Boston College, Jerkovic may have broke his wrist or something. I don't know.
What?
I don't think it's
really?
come out yet. Yeah, he went out of the game and didn't come back. I think it was a wrist injury. So
Jerkovic,
I mean, it's still there.
Boston College?
Yeah.
Wow. That's big news.
So, door's still open.
Door's open. So, again, for those who are tuning in, again, just, guys, stay positive. As State fans, again, it's, I know this is tough, and obviously yesterday was a tough pill to swallow for all of us. But, at the end of the day, it's, everything is still on the table. It's not, it's not like season's over again. We're 2 games in. So, but again, the positivity though, for the most part is, again, it's good to see, that we're still, we're getting guys included, but again, we got to figure out this running to the left thing. I agree, and I'm making thanks for bringing that up. Got
It's
to
just too
figure that out.
predictable. It's just too
Yeah.
predictable.
Yeah. Well, again, we ran a ton of curl routes. I didn't count it, but we must have run at least double-digit curl routes. And so
There's a guy who works for Inside Pack Sports named Philip Danford who does a really good breakdown of individual plays and what we ran and does like the Pro Football Focus kind of analytics.
Yeah.
So I'll be very curious to see what he has to say. I know he's really good at that, but yeah, I don't get it. And I was looking here at the box score again. I'm looking here, just kind of run through. We were pretty much even with them offensively. Our averages were about the same. The total yards were about the same. We both stunk at running the ball. We both passed around 300 passing yards. But to me, the biggest thing here, red zone score chances. We were 1 of 3, and they were 2 of 2. And we had 1 of 2 missed field goals, and they were 1 of 1. So they were 100% in scoring. So
me and Leighton talked about it a little bit before he jumped on, but that first, well, I think it was technically our second drive where we got it inside the 10, we ran a screen on the goal line, and there Thomas got stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and then the next play we did the jump pass that got intercepted. It's like we didn't even try to just hand the ball off to Bam or Ricky Person and let him run it in from inside the 10.
To me, again, I know I heard y'all's comment. I think I just heard it when I hopped on. It's one of the plays where if you get it done, it's great play. What a great play. If it's not, it's stuck. But my thing is though, if you just drove the ball down the field, and you need some you just go and run it down the throats. Like you're right there. I don't know I know obviously it was like first and second and third and goal, but I don't remember if we were 2 yards out. I think it was like 2.
Yeah,
you've got Zonovan Knight and Bam. You got Zonovan Knight and Ricky Person, 2 of the best duo running backs. Just go run the ball in and don't do a gimmicky kind of play. I don't get that play.
I don't, and I know it's not Tim Beck's
in that situation. I don't get it.
Yeah, I know it's not Tim Beck's offense to line up 3 tight ends I formation and hand it off, but just spread it out of the shotgun, do maybe a draw play or something, and let him see what he can do with that at least.
But one thing which I will say though, and was a bright spot, is that towards the end of the game, I mean, Porter Rooks looked solid last night, and I truly do think that's a guy that we need to get more involved in our offense. Is Porter Rooks? I mean, that guy's a baller. He's a playmaker, and I mean, building off of last season, heading into what we've seen so far, he's going to be a big weapon for us. So, so that's kind of one thing which I honed in. But Hunter, you kind of bring up in terms of why are we not going deep more? And I think a lot of it really is just that, again, it was just not Leary's night. He was just not able to connect on the deep ball. And so Beck was trying to.
He had a couple that.
But again, it's not him because the balls are hitting the guys in their hands or within 5 yards.
Yeah, so, well, let's put it this way: he wasn't throwing them as good as he was. Let's put it that way. So again, I'm being nitpicky for sure.
Sure,
and because again, whether it is Leary or whether it is the wide receivers, it's not working. Period. It's just not working. So what are you gonna do? Just keep throwing it until it does work, or do you kind of try to change it up? And because again, with this team, with this offense, we have options. So again, Hunter, I think described it perfectly. Last night was just weird. It was just not. It was just bizarre. It was embarrassing. It was disappointing. It was bizarre. But
at the same time, it's like typical NC State, and that's what's so frustrating. It's like, everybody that I knew who's like a casual NC State fan was like, I don't know, man. We're probably going to go down there and lose. And I don't know, dude. I'm like, no, look, I get where you're coming from, Joe or whatever. So I get where you're coming from, but it's, this team's too talented. Have you seen that quarterback, Will Rogers? He's not really got much arm strength. They aren't. Louisiana Tech, respectable program, but they were neck and neck with them. I was like, everybody's saying we're going to win the game. Professional bettors were betting on NC State. I was like, we're going to win the game probably. And it might be close, but it was just typical NC State. And that's what frustrates me. Like, you don't gain anything. Like, it just, you just sit yourself back, and it's like, okay, this should be I imagine this as a non-NC State fan, you're watching the game thinking, okay, State should get this one. This is like it's going to a game that's like a not great Mississippi State game They finally are going to get that SEC win. And guess what? That track record of being an SEC team on the road is still bad. So, but I will highlight this. If we've highlighted a lot of the bad, I will say this too. Defense played great for the most part. They just were on the field too long, and I think at the end they just got winded. Again, they held Mississippi State to 17 points. And if we in our red zone offense was 1 of 3 with an additional 1 missed field goal, that's 17 points on top of what we scored now. We could have won the game if we just converted. And there's no telling what us scoring early on. Maybe if we get like 1 or 2 scores, like a touchdown and the field goal early, how does that affect Mississippi State's mentality? So
it changes the whole game.
It changes everything. Mm-hmm. The tempo, the dynamics. So it just, I don't know.
Yep. And so again, it's just one of those things that, it was kind of talked about on Twitter that at the end of the day, the defense was because again, especially with a Doran team, again, when's the last time over this year and last year is when I finally start to see this defense be reliable, as we don't have to rely on our offense to basically make up for what our defense is lacking. And because again, I mean, I think all of us who are here on this call, including the 3 of us here with, Michael, Macon, and myself, if somebody said, hey, listen, I'll give you even money. All you have to do is say whether NC State's going to score over or under, 17 points on offense, assuming that kick 6 doesn't happen. I think we all feel comfortable enough with this offense that we're going to win that game, or even if it's 24 points. So we feel comfortable enough what we have offensively that we're going to win that game. So, all we can hope is that, this is just an anomaly that we just weren't there. We weren't clicking. Just things weren't, just going right for this team. But hey, it's a wake up call, and hopefully, 4 weeks from now, we're maybe what. So what we've played 6 games. So hopefully we're 4-2. Something like that. Feeling good. Feeling excited for the rest of the season. That's all we can hope. And we'll go from there. But it's not time yet to call for heads when we're only 2 games in. Let's put it that way. So let's wait for a little bit longer before we really start thinking about that. There's no picture yet to really in my head. I think anybody's head right now to call for anybody's head when at the end of the day, the everything's still on the table. We haven't lost anything yet. We've lost hope. We've lost a lot of, excitement about this team. But who's to say we can't get it back? That's something that can easily come back.
They've got the talent.
With a big game against, Louisiana Tech, who's now, no pushover. Louisiana Tech's no pushover. So, I mean, even after Clemson, even if we at least play a great game against them and beat, a solid Louisiana Tech team, then you're still in the driver's seat for a big season. So,
I mean, and that's the thing too. Like Louisiana Tech, like we're assuming we're going to win. They gave Mississippi State all they've got, and Mississippi State won, and Mississippi State won barely. Is it going to be the same story? I mean, it's going to be very telling. It's going to be very, very interesting how this is going to all go. So I don't even know if I would feel. The only way I could feel really confident at 4-2 is just somehow we beat Clemson. Like that's the only. Like, do I really feel confident if we are 4-2? We've lost Mississippi State and Clemson. Like, and our wins are Louisiana Tech, South Florida, and Furman, and whoever the next game is. Like
Louisiana Tech, and Boston College.
I would feel better if I beat Boston College. Put it that way, I would feel better. But I'm not really. I think if we're like 5-2, like halfway through the season, I just think this Mississippi State loss is going to haunt us for a while. I really do, and I really hope it doesn't stay in their heads. I think this team's going to go out and crush Furman because they're be mad, and they need to. Championship teams play with some anger and some fire. They don't just they're not happy campers kind of thing, or like, oh, they're going to need to go out there and crush Furman.
Well, let me tell a story too. So back in 2017, when we lost to Clemson on that tough loss, next 2 games we lost a tough game against Boston College and we lost a tough game against Florida State. We should have won both those games. And so I look at that team and I go, that team, that Clemson loss haunted that state team for 2 games until we could finally get the monkey off our back by beating, I think, either Wake Forest or Syracuse, something like that. So if this team can do exactly what you said and basically move on. So that way, starting against Furman and heading into Clemson, that you feel like that this game hasn't had an effect on us, then I feel like that this program is heading in the right direction. Let's put it that way. Just because of the fact that, again, mature teams and team and programs that are strong can take a punch in the chin, but get right back up and keep fighting.
Well, see,
And
I will
play
say
as a
that,
group.
and you're right. You're totally right, and I agree with you. That would be the way a championship team would do it. I just know historically, statistically, the stats
It
are
hasn't
that
happened.
the teams who lose. No, I'm saying no. I'm not saying that. The teams who lose to Clemson the next week almost
Right.
always lose.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and you're just going to the stats, that means you're what would that be, a 2-3 team?
Yep.
That would not be good. And I
No.
mean,
Well,
it's Louisiana Tech. It's not an ACC team, but
what if we crush them?
Yeah,
right, and that would be great. That's what I'm saying. You're totally right. It's just a point statistically to note historically. It's just kind of like
Yeah, right.
In the opposite,
go ahead.
In the opposite way, we could be 2-2 through our first 4 games, and potentially finish the season 10-2 if we're being very optimistic. Because obviously Miami hasn't looked as great. UNC obviously didn't look great against Virginia Tech. I mean, that's still out there
Florida
too.
State lost to Jacksonville State.
Right.
Yeah. Which that poor Mackenzie Milton homecoming. That poor Mackenzie Milton got squashed.
And then what else am I thinking of? Obviously you mentioned Boston College has Jurkovic injured.
Yeah, if he's out, who knows?
That's tough.
But
That's tough for BC. So again, hey, if I guess all we're trying to say here at the end of the day is that, again, as tough of a loss as it is, that we can still learn a lot about this team. We can still grow a lot as a program this season. There's no doubt about it. And again, maybe this sets up something, that, is talked about by state fans for quite some time. That is the hope. That's all
I know, but I always think if that happens and say we end up being a great team, people will be like, yeah, man, but what could have been if we had got to Mississippi State? It's going to be there, and it's going to. I know. But you can't say a 10. You're right. Hypothetically speaking, you'd be like, oh, 10-2 would be so great. Do I think 10-2 is going to happen? Do all three of us think 10-2 is going to happen? I don't think so. But
no.
Hey, that's what we do. We overreact in a positive way and negative way.
That's right.
So yeah, guys. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. And at the end of the day, I think that we're all still proud to be state fans for sure, 100%. And just like Pack for Life said, at the end of the day, being a state fan makes you tougher. Makes your skin a little bit more thicker.
Builds character. Builds
character. No kidding. So, but hey, we're still all for it. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens the rest of the season, but we're so excited to see it. Go ahead.
And a side note, thank you to the Mississippi State fans for your guys' hospitality. I wasn't there, but I see John Smith was just a guest following us on this live stream, and he's apparently a Mississippi State fan. I heard and I saw so many great things about them hosting NC State fans, and that whole thing where the AD for Mississippi State invited Coach Avent to stand on the field and be honored with the Mississippi State coaching staff and team. Like he wasn't there, but they brought him there to honor. I mean, Mississippi State is a class school, and I think NC State fans will always love them for that. Now,
always, absolutely. No, I mean, for pretty much until the generations just simply cannot remember what happened. Let's put it that way. So for a while.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Well, thank you all so much again. And, I know all of us are excited probably to go check out this Rams Bears game. So definitely enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday and make sure to check out our episodes on Tuesday and Thursday. We've got a special interview coming up that I know all state football fans will want to check out. So don't miss it. And as always, go Pack, y'all. Have a good one, everybody.